My name is Greg Andriotis, and this webinar is about how to maximize the MEP Productivity Pack. I've been in the industry since 2012. I started as a plumber in the field. I worked my way up through a drafting department, and I worked with Disney, HCA, local home builders, pool contractors, anybody that needed drawings. I spent 2 years running my own company as a draftsman. And I came to ATG, and now I am the consulting team lead for ATG's MEP department. Enough about me. What is the MEP Productivity Pack? So it's a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing productivity pack. It's a standardized project template. It has content for all of the trades: mechanical, plumbing, electrical, fire protection, and it's for Revit, obviously. The MEP Productivity Pack is meant to streamline your process, make your calculations easier, make your scheduling easier, connectivity work better. The data set that's included with it, the template file, the starter project, and the sample project will help you to implement Revit in a design environment or even in a construction environment. That's kind of the whole goal here, is to sort of make it a shoe that fits everyone. So today we're going to talk about the starter project, and then most everything else is sort of related to the sample project. We'll go through discipline placeholder links, how they work, model setup views, views and scope boxes, levels, reference planes and grids, spaces and volumes, AutoCAD backgrounds, automated project setup using Dynamo, and step-by-step setup instructions with a video. So the starter project. The starter project is included in the pack. It's what they've done is they've taken the sample project and they've stripped out all of the content as far as populated items. And what we'll do today at the end of the run here is we'll go through a video where I'm basically doing the same thing for the purposes of creating a template for a multi-trade discipline. The MEP starter pack has about the MEP productivity pack has about 15 years worth of man hours dedicated to it to create what we have today, which is this sample project, starter project, Dynamo routines, and the intention is to utilize this project with the CTC tools, the Hive CMS. And just to quickly go through what the starter project has in it, it's a 2-story project, level 1 and roof, and there are reference planes in it. And for the sample project, it's a 9-story unique high-rise project. And that's meant for you to take a look at and see how your stuff is going to look in the same environment using our view templates, using our view filters, and everything else that's applied inside of the MEP's productivity pack. The current version of the pack has been overhauled completely. They've gone through and changed the standards. They've changed most of the parameters throughout all of the families, the views, the sheets, all of the special parameters that they've created so that everything schedules really easily, and they've also created a way to push those parameters into manufacturer families utilizing their CTC tools. The 4 ways that the starter model is designed to save setup time is through utilization of the discipline linking and associated view cleanup. So they've burned out all the stuff you don't need. Model views for coordination to discipline links, and view creation and scope box management. Automation of content removal that's not in your scope, right? So we use the Dynamo to kind of like burn out anything we don't need, and we move forward and start creating our template. Once we've cut a template from the pack, then we've got our starter project, our template, and we move forward and start working. I mean, that's the idea here. By default, this is just common like knowledge, this isn't something specific to the pack, but by default, when Revit links are added into a project, they're visible everywhere and they follow the host view settings. So what they've done here with the discipline placeholder links is they've already added a ton of visibility settings into those links so that common things that you're going to get from other trades like annotation, and I'm sure other things that I can't think of off the top of my head, potentially color coordination, those kind of things are all going to be preset and ready to go. So all you have to do is reload from, select the link from whoever you got it from, and all of those properties will be applied to that new link. If you don't need the links, you don't have to use them, but I don't recommend deleting them because potentially somewhere down the road, you may actually get that other trade link. And then all of those settings are already set up for you. If you delete the link out, then you lose those visibility and graphics settings. Model setup views are the area where you're intended to actually bring in your links, set up your model, copy monitor, scope boxes, reviewing heights, managing the levels and the reference planes. So there's 3 different types of views within the model setup views. There's the floor plan views, and those cover adjusting the scope box, X and Y, and coordinating copy monitor tasks. 3D views are for reviewing the scope box heights, they're Z, and building layouts. Section views are going to be for managing your levels and your reference planes, which you can copy monitor in those views. In the sample project that comes with the MEP Productivity Pack data set, you get 350 plus views included. Those views are for like every trade: mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. So the idea is not for you to use that right out of the box. The idea is for you to take that, see how it looks, and kind of customize it to your needs, right? By leveraging the scope boxes and the dependent views, you can really make your changes super quick. You can move a scope box, and that scope box is going to, when I get to the next page, the dependent views. So in this release, in the sample project, there's a dependent view arrangement built in for north, south, east, and west. The idea is to utilize those dependent views and the common scope boxes and match lines across all the disciplines, and not just one, one trade. Each has their own type of view and their own type of scope boxes. We want to kind of use them all as one. And you'll kind of see that in the X-ray view inside the pack. It kind of has like an X-ray vision view of the building, and you can see all of your trades in one view and kind of work around them and make sure that you're not stepping on each other's toes. And this is the important thing with this pack, and I think I sort of touched on it earlier. Scope boxes are applied to nearly all the views in the sample model. If you change the scope box's dimensions, you change its height or its X and Y, you're going to change all of the views that are set to that scope box. And so that's why we do this. We can take that box, move it to where our actual project is. Once we've cut our template from the main file, we can take that and move it to where we want it, and just keep going. We can get to work. Everything's there. It's all linked in. We're ready to go. So now we're going to kind of cover the levels, reference planes, and grids. In the sample project, there's 10 levels. In the starter project, there's 2 levels. I just want to make that abundantly clear. By reusing these levels, when we copy monitor the levels from the architect or the structure, the time required to create views is just, there's nothing. It's gone completely. All the views are there, so we don't have to worry about it. When you delete a level in Revit in general, all the views associated with that level go away. So it's actually way easier to start with the multiple levels and then just delete them out, the ones we don't need. So if it's a four-story building with a roof, so then we've got 5 levels total. We'll just delete out, 7 through 9, and we've eliminated all the views associated with it and any sheets as well. So Well, at least the views on those sheets, sorry. Reference planes. So when we talk about reference planes, we're talking about somewhere to place your objects. Could be a diffuser, could be a light, could be anything. In the case of this, we're talking about reference planes that are included in our model. We've got 3 of them on each level. So those reference planes can be used if you want to continue using it that way. But what I would recommend is utilizing the MEP Productivity Pack families, which have a built-in articulated Cartesian arm, which means that I can place that family on any surface, on any work plane, in any orientation that I want, basically. That's kind of the whole point of these families, and the people over at CTC Tools have worked really hard to make these families custom and work really well. And you can also kind of review that when you do get the pack inside of the file structure under the families in the model groups. You can check out the stock, the configuration, and you can see everything. It's a family template or a family that you can review and even build your own from. So long story short, the reference planes aren't really necessary anymore, and that's kind of what the point of this slide is just to explain that you don't really need it anymore because we have the articulated Cartesian arm built into all the families. Grid lines, you're going to copy those. This is basic knowledge, but you're going to copy those from your structural or your architectural. And there's really nothing special about grids in this. So spaces and volumes. Let me talk about spaces for a minute. Spaces are essential to the MEP Productivity Pack. They allow flexibility. They give us the volumes of the rooms. They give us area. They give us all the data that we need to calculate our schedules for our HVAC load calculations. And we can do lighting calculations with them. I mean, they really do make it a lot easier. We can even utilize those spaces to do some like drain calculations, just because based on the area, the model setup views, the model setup views are set so that when I bring in everything, I'll be able to see from my architectural link, I'll be able to see their space separations that they drew if they did. And I'll also be able to see all the MEP space separations. So if I get a project from a mechanical contractor and I'm a plumbing contractor, I bring in his model, I can see where his spaces are, and I can utilize that for my own nefarious purposes as well. Let's talk about AutoCAD backgrounds. So earlier I mentioned the articulated Cartesian arm, and here it sort of explains it. You can host it to pretty much anything. That's kind of the whole deal. The reason that I bring it up again is because if you think of an AutoCAD background, you're looking at a 2D drawing, generally speaking. They're not represented, or they're not representative of an actual wall in Revit. Revit doesn't understand it, that it's a wall. It doesn't know anything about it. All it sees is a line. So what we can do is we can bring in our MEP Productivity Pack families, and we can place those anywhere we'd like. And we can select that line that's the wall in the AutoCAD background, and we can just place it there level based, or we can place it there work plane based or reference plane based. It doesn't really matter. That's the whole point of that, and that's what it's good for. And that way we seamlessly can work with an AutoCAD background if we have to, or you can work with a Revit background. It doesn't matter which one it is, we just get it done. The automated, I see there's a chat. Oh, okay. The automated project setup. So all of the MEP Productivity Pack families have keywords in them. It's a parameter. Those keywords tell the schedules which schedule it needs to go on. So for instance, if it's an air handler unit, it's going to have something to do with air handlers in the keyword, and it's going to place it on the air handler unit schedule. If it's a general keyword, like I wanted to be on the overall schedule for mechanical, it's going to have some kind of overall mechanical keyword. what we can do here is we can utilize the Dynamo script. I'm sorry, there's also 3 schedules in the schedules that summarize the keyword values. That's important to know. This used to be a big part of making your template from this file. It no longer is, but you can still utilize it if you're going to make specifically. I'm going to go to the next slide, if it'll let me. Oh, went too far. Sorry. Let's go back. Of course. Give me 1 second, guys. I don't know what happened here. It spazzed out. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So the name of the script included to do automated project setup is called the Project Purge Universal Dynamo script. It's in the file structure under Common Add-ins and Dynamo. So if you ever do want to play around with it, you can. And the whole idea here is to be able to strip out the things we don't need. So if I only do mechanical and plumbing, I don't want electrical in my file at all. It's just taking up space and making my file bloated, and I'm never going to use those parts. So let's get rid of it. If I'm only doing electrical and I don't need mechanical and plumbing in my file, same difference. So that's where those keywords come in handy, and that's where that script comes in handy. And I'm able to address those things using the keywords and kind of eliminate them out of the model. So if you want to make a specific model just for mechanical and plumbing, you would go about using that Dynamo routine. You can select the items you don't want. It's very intuitive. It's very user friendly. We're not actually going to cover that today. What we are going to cover, however, is model setup in the way that we would create our own starter project. So I'm going to start going through that right now. So next slide is going to be a video, and that video is a little bit sped up because there's a lot of load times in between, but we will go through it and I'll explain everything as it's going. So here we go. So first thing you're going to do to start making your template, you're going to open the file, the sample project file, and you're going to detach it from Central. You're going to save that file. Once all this is done, you're going to save that file as to your desired location, so it's your project location. Detach and preserve your work sets. And then if your links are loaded, you're going to unload all the links. In my case, my file is not located where it can see the common links, so it just says it can't find them when I open up the manage links. And this is going to take just a moment. So this process is pretty quick, but it does take a little bit of time initially. I think it took me about 45 minutes to do it, and I've sped this up to where it takes us about 16, 17 minutes to get through it. So that way there's time for Q&A at the end of this. So traditionally, you're going to open detached, save it as a starter project, wherever it is that you want it, and then you're going to unload all the links. Here's my managed links, and clearly they're not found, so I don't need to unload them because they're not loaded. Do my save as. And then I'm going to name it starter project, like I said. So can't figure out that caps lock apparently. This should take just a moment. Now, in this model, there's something called design options. I don't know if everyone's familiar with design options, but basically the idea is that we take and we create 2 versions of whatever it is we're trying to present. Well, in this case, they've leveraged the design options to create test elements and dynamic legends and prefab design groups, all of those things are on the are on the design options. And the idea behind creating those design options was to give a place to put them where they're not in the model, they're not part of the regular model, and we don't accidentally delete them out when we're creating our template. So the first thing I'm going to do here is probably check my manage links again, just to make sure, okay, we're good. And now I'm going to go to design options at the bottom here. And the two things that I want to do here is I want to accept the primary design options on prefab design groups and test elements. Now, before I do this, and actually let me pause for 1 second just to explain. Before I do this, in your case, what you're going to do is you're going to go in to the prefab design groups and make sure you like the appearance of them. That's under the prefab design groups over here in the project browser right here. And you're also going to go into the test elements and you're going to check those test elements and make sure you like the way they look. And if you don't, you can make those changes on that design option. So you have to switch design options to the design option you want to make the changes on, make those changes. And then once you're happy with everything, the look, the appearance, the tags, everything, then you can move on and purge those out of your drawing, which is what we're doing here. We never, ever want to delete the code selection schedules because those reflect on our title sheets. So, and I've just gotten rid of one of them, and now we'll do the other one. I carefully go through and select the ones that I don't want to get rid of. So now that that's done, I've purged a bunch of data just now. I killed a bunch of views. I killed all kinds of stuff. And everything that was on the design options. Now what I've done here is I've gone to a 3D view. I just created one from the house at the top, made a 3D view, and now I'm selecting everything I can see in the 3D view because I know it's just content, and I'm going to delete it. Now that I'm done with that, we're going to address the sheets section next. So what I'll do is I'll expand all the sheets for each trade, and then I'll go through and I'll only select the title sheets and the spec sheets to stay. So everything else can go. So I'll scroll down, get everything. And I think actually I forgot when I was recording this, I forgot to open up the fire protection one. So when we get there, you'll probably see just the title sheet and the spec sheet. Those are the ones I want to keep. And here it is, fire protection. Yeah, there we go. But no big deal, it's easy to fix. Just select it all again, deselect. And that's it, everything else can go, so delete. We burned all that nonsense out of here. The next thing we're going to do is once this is finished is we're going to create a schedule for spaces. And right after that, we're going to create a schedule for areas. And then we're going to delete those spaces and areas out of our drawing. Seems like it stopped playing for some reason. There we go. It's just slow, sorry. Like I said, we're going to create a schedule for spaces first. And then the only thing we're going to add to it is area. And once it creates a schedule, I can select all of these and hit delete. And I can literally delete all the spaces out of this model because we're not going to keep their spaces from the temp model or from the sample model, excuse me. Then I'll do the same thing with areas, gross building areas. Select all of those. And we can go back and delete these two schedules later. And we will. So the next step that I'm doing here is I'm going into the roof drain loads. Now, I probably shouldn't have deleted that page, but I did. The idea is actually I should have just deleted the areas on the page, but the roof loads for plumbing, that's what I did. Then we're going to go through and delete any existing load reports because we don't have that building anymore. It's a different building now. Now we're getting into model setup for our template. Here I am going back and deleting the 2 schedules that we created. Now we're going to go into the model setup. And I went back and I deleted that again. So now here in model setup, we're going to start looking at the section views. We're going to go to a north-south section view. And let me pause it for 1 second. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to select all these levels, and then I'm going to stop copy monitoring them. Once I've stopped copy monitoring them, I'm going to filter this out and get just my levels selected rather than my levels and all my other nonsense. I think I even delete out the reference planes as well, because I don't need the ones on the other levels. And then I'll move my level roof down 20 feet so that it's somewhere in here. So I'll resume the video. And I want to keep the reference planes above level 1. I don't want to lose all of them. So what if I need them later? And now it's deleting all those levels. So when I delete these levels, it's deleting every view associated with the levels. You'll see all these ones in the model setup disappear for 2 through 8 and basement. And then there it is. I moved the roof down. I was just checking to make sure I didn't delete anything else. And now I'm going to go to a plan view version of this. And I'm going to stop monitoring my grids and delete them out, basically. And then I'm going to go through and like clean up all of the scope boxes and things on this page as well. So what I like to do is I like to keep the overall scope box. See, I stopped monitoring and now I'll just delete those out and they're gone. Real quick, I'll stop for just a second. What I like to do here is I like to keep the outer box. This is the shared MEP scope box, the site property line. And I also like to keep the building scope box right here, which is the outer one around this building. All the rest of the scope boxes can go away. We'll create our own as we go through in our own template, unless there's a specific setup that you like from here. I mean, this is all for you to review and decide on your own, honestly. I accidentally deleted the wrong box, so Control Z. And I like to use the filter because I know I'm only selecting the things that I want to select. And there, I know I've only got the scope boxes I want selected, and I'll just delete those out. So those are all gone now. Next up, I'll hit these couple of, I'll hit these elevations, the views. Sorry, elevations. And I have to be clear here. Don't just hit delete. You got to look because you've got some north, south, east, west elevations. I don't want to delete those. So real quickly, I'll deselect those, and I'll deselect those 2 in the middle, the north, south, east, west view, the main view there. And then I'll delete the rest. So you'll see that just those 2 and then the 4 north, south, east, west remained. The match lines, I don't need them. I'll create my own. And let's see. So those stay. That's pretty much it. Everything else stays. I could get rid of the text at any time, but it's only in this view, so it doesn't really affect anything else. Yeah, the next thing we're going to do, I'm sorry, let me pause it for a second. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our 3D view that we created earlier, and we're going to turn on the temporary view properties, which are right down here. What what that's going to do for us is show us everything in the model, basically, is what we're trying to see, and especially the energy model. That's what we're really looking for. So because they created an energy model in the MEPPP for us to look at, that's what we're doing. Now I see there's some questions. Why are the load reports, spaces, etc., still in the starter template? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to why. Why are the grids from the sample project still in the starter project? So the one we're in right now is the sample project, not the starter project, to be clear. In the starter project, they are not included. The load reports should have been deleted. The spaces should have been deleted. And also what I'm creating basically right now is the starter template, except I'm leaving in some things that they may or may not have left in. So to Bruce Johnson, sorry. Continuing on here. So what we did here was we're temporarily viewing basically everything is what we're trying to do. I'm going to jump into visibility and graphics here in just a second, and I'm going to turn everything on all the way across the board in this view. If I clicked it, did not. There we go. So basically showing all the categories, showing everything, and then I'll turn everything on. And that's going to enable me to see, basically, in case there's any model items, anything I may have missed earlier, everything will show. Now, the only thing I want to delete out of here is the energy model, though. So I'll go to the Analyze tab, and I'll head over here to this button for Delete Energy Model. And so I can see now that there's no other model items in here that I need to get rid of. So now I'll just turn off the temporary view properties, restore it back, and close this view. So, okay. So yeah, I left some of this text on here. I could have deleted it earlier. I didn't. I went back and deleted it. So now that we're done with that, we're going to go to, we're going to go to the construction permit section up top here, and we're going to start working on the views in there and get anything else that we don't need in the drawing out. So that means we're going to take all the drafting views and purge them out. We're going to take all of the nested dependent views that have the north, south, east, west labels, and we're going to get rid of them as well. The reason we're doing all of this is to slim down this to a smaller, more manageable size. So I'm going to let this play, and you'll see I'm going to go through and I'm going to open up the drafting views only, because if I open up any other views, I'm going to delete out more than I mean to. So I only want to get the drafting views. And it took me a few chances here to get it all, because I didn't, once again, want to delete out drawings we didn't need to. Once we're done with the construction set, we'll go through the model setup set and delete it. There's like a few views to delete. So. This is the latest version, the 20.1 version. That's why maybe your file structure looks a little different in your properties browser, because they've done a lot of updates. Try to skip ahead about 10 seconds here or so if I can. Right. So still working in that construction area. Just a few that I didn't quite hit yet. Get rid of the rest of those drafting views. And then we'll jump down to taking care of those. Oh, there's a few more drafting views, systems and symbols. So I just did an expand all there just to see if I could find these east, north, south, because all of those have to go as well, like I said earlier, just to slim this down as tightly as possible. And then once I'm done inside of the construction set, I'll go down to the model setup and do the same thing. Just make sure there's no north souths. I think it's all under key plans, it sounds like. So yep, I think we got them all. Just double checking. Don't see any in there. We're good. And then the next thing I'm tasked to do, and this is all based on what you get with the pack as well. We'll go and delete that. I'm sorry, let me back that up just a hair. So what I did here is I went to the prefab design groups. There's one rendering in this sample project that's for, of course, that's for it's for something that they did for a demo. And yeah, I see there's another question. Let me check that out. That is true. The Dynamo routine will also remove north, south, east, west dependent views and associated sheets. It is just a one checkbox in the prompt. Yep, you're right. You are correct. That works really well, Blake. Thank you. So the prefab boiler plant was something they did for a promo thing. And so you have to go through and delete that one out specifically. And that'll eliminate this whole group, this whole prefab design group. And then what else? Let's see. I think I did it already, but model setup, there's a key plan labeled north, south, east, west as well. We kind of went through that already. Okay, so the next step is purging. And then we're going to have our file. God darn it. I don't know why it keeps doing that to me. Let's play it and let's go to 14-ish minutes. That's just me collapsing everything down to get it out of the way. And then we're going to go ahead and purge. So what we want to do here is we want to purge everything except drafting views, elevation views, section view types, annotation symbols, duct systems, pipe systems, arrowheads, dimension styles, text styles, elevation tags, section tags, spot elevations and coordinates, view references, and viewports. I know it sounds like a big list, but it's really not that long. That was about 14 items. The rest of it can go. We don't need it. And then when we're done purging, we're just going to sync to central. And listen, all of this, what I've just gone through in this last portion here, comes right out of, is released with the product. So you don't have to, you don't have to pause this every 5 seconds. This is released with the product. It's under documentation inside the folder structure, and you can definitely find the step-by-step on how to go through and make your own template out of it. And so, yeah, we're just gonna go through really quickly, find all the things to purge them out. And I'm just gonna fast forward just a hair here because I am literally going through and step-by-step grabbing everything. And I purged it, and now I got to save it. So synchronize the central, make sure I relinquish everything. Okay. And once it's done, I'm going to close it. But I'm also going to pull up the folder real quick to show you. We started at 900 megabytes for the sample project. And when I go here, it's going to say something like 920. Yeah, 920 megabytes. And that's the starter project we created, by the way, in this folder, not the one that comes with the pack. And in a moment, when it's done saving, it's going to say 1 million, but it's trying to make a liar of me. It's actually 179 megabytes, which is a reasonable size for a template to start. So that's pretty much it. And I will show you really quickly before we get into any more Q&A, just the folder structure of what they include, so that everyone has seen what's there in case you don't have it yet. So this is the latest release, the 20.1. In here, we've got some release notes. We've got a few specifics on design analysis, manufacturing data. Over here, we've got some common add-ins. This is where that Dynamo lives. So when you navigate to Dynamo in your Revit, you can find those here. There's some other add-in stuff. Family processor. This is where you can actually take these and push these properties to your specific type of family that you've taken from a manufacturer or where have you. There's your common lookup tables, spreadsheet link, metric conversion if you need to. And I see there's another question. This is the latest release. 20.1, like 2 weeks ago it came out. And then common user guide, that's 456 pages, by the way. So light reading, documentation. This is the actual document that you'll get with it. And this will walk you through the process of creating your starter project like I just did on screen. And this is where you would find your sample project and your starter project. The starter project, you could just take this and start working if you wanted to, or you can go in and customize everything to your liking in the sample project and then cut a new template from that, which is the process that they typically want you to follow, just to be clear. It also comes with the MEPP, which is already split off, right? So that's just a split off. That's mechanical and that's electrical, the EPP. But you get all three ready to rock and roll. So if you just wanted to jump into an electrical drawing, you could go ahead and pop open this starter project here. Or once again, you could go in and cut your own. If you didn't like everything that was in there, you could cut it right from the main template, which is the MEPPP. All right, so let's it's the latest release that came out 2 weeks ago. I believe it's 20.1, Chris. Oh, we already did that. So that is the end of the presentation. So I have a little bit more time and I do apologize for being late. So if you have any other questions, let's address those now. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and this has been recorded and will be provided to anybody that needs it. Let me know, reach out directly if you need anything. Our marketing team is very responsive, and so is our MEP team. Thanks, everybody.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.